Welcome to Past the Projections.
Fantasy experts, really. You should really consider us the pinnacle of fantasy football knowledge.
The host, Adam Skinner, the coach. There was a lot of debate on whether or not he would be that great. The guru, Thomas Lozano.
Kid's a playmaker, like you touched on there for a second.
Statman, Danny Pert.
Definitely a touchdown threat. Love the frame, love what I saw from him.
The wizard, Chris Roth.
Solid player with good floors.
The coach, the guru, the statistician, and the wizard. Talking fantasy football, Dynasty League specifically.
I just come here because I like to talk. And if you want to listen to me, it's completely on you.
Yes. Come listen to us. We're here back again. Past the Projections crew, as you heard. Going through our rankings, 2021, way too early rankings, to be honest. The draft hasn't even happened yet, and we're ranking these guys, hoping things are going to happen a certain way. Some of the free agents are still moving around. Do you think this is even going to be accurate in like 2 months, Thomas? Chris?
No.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, it's just that insight, we've seen some people talk about 2020 vision. We got that 2021 vision,
right?
Which I think is better than 2020, right? I mean,
I guess
fantasy experts.
It has to be. That's what we said. We said we're fantasy experts. There's no doubt in my mind that we are.
You gotta live up to it.
Adam Skinner, Thomas Lozano, Chris Roth, Danny Pert out once again with the baby still, but I mean that's not going to change the baby thing. But he's getting used to it, so we're going to have a nice little Pert segment each episode, getting his voice in here while we can or when we can. And in the meantime, we're going to go through and keep giving you that beautiful dynasty knowledge that you need. So, Thomas, you ready to bestow wisdom upon our listeners today?
I mean, it's tight end. We'll see. We'll see how much wisdom is really out there.
There's not the truth. So yes, we are on tight ends. Top 10 rankings, buy, sell, and a flyer. Tight ends are not anyone's favorite topic. There are a lot of leagues with tight end premium, so definitely you have to keep that in mind. With some of these players, you're going to look for the guys, but obviously with more targets, more receptions. But at the tight end position, that's really hard to find. So we're going to give you who we think you should be looking for. And starting at the top, I don't think there's any question. Travis Kelsey belongs there. And why is that, Thomas?
I mean, if you've been playing fantasy football the last 5 years, you should already know why. Ever since Patrick Mahomes came to town, it changed his world upside down. I believe it's over the last 4 seasons. He's been the number one tight end in all formats. And it's not even close. He's projected to be the unquestioned number one again this year, with a projection of over 300 points. And so with production like that, and even though he's up there in age, he still has the upside with playing with Patrick Mahomes, and not only playing with Patrick Mahomes, but being arguably Patrick Mahomes' favorite target. In the last 65 games, last 4 seasons, he's got the 34 touchdowns, and he's got 48 total in his career. So I think the first 50 games before that, he had 14 touchdowns. So it just shows you how quick his career really did turn around with Patrick Mahomes. But he's also been dominant in catching the ball. He's got the last 2 to 3 seasons, he's got 100 catches, and missed the century mark by 3 catches in that 1 year that he didn't hit.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the best tight end in the history of the league. Well, I mean, 7 seasons as a starter, and just comparing him to Tony Gonzalez, who's widely considered the best tight end, at least talent-wise in the league, in NFL history. I don't know about fantasy-wise, but he's always been Tony Gonzalez, pretty consistent player. But Travis Kelsey already has more 100-catch seasons than Tony Gonzalez, who played 17 seasons versus 7. He's got the same number of over 10 touchdown seasons, and he's got more 1,000-yard seasons already. And he just set the all-time record for receiving yards in a season by a tight end, 1,416. He's got a 71% career catch percentage, like everything thrown his way. Anything over 70% for a career catch percentage, receiver, tight end, running back, doesn't matter. That's unbelievable. And he's been doing that for 7 seasons. And he had the second best fantasy season in the history of the position last year, only behind Gronk's 2011 season when he had those 18 touchdowns. So, What else can you say about the guy?
Exactly. What else can you say?
Yeah, he's got Mahomes. He's got everything. Travis Kelsey, number one. We're not even no more. We don't need to talk anymore. We all know. Number two, who do you have? Well, I know we disagree now.
So I went with Darren Waller. Just to kind of touch a little bit on Travis Kelsey one more time, he was top 5 in receptions last year in amongst qualified receivers.
Yeah.
At number 4, though, was Darren Waller.
Yeah.
He had 107 receptions last year, which, quite frankly, that's amazing coming from the tight end position.
Yeah.
He's not getting a lot of competition at the tight end spot, let alone anybody in the wide receiver room right now. So the fact that he's going to continue to see, I would say, double-digit targets more often than not.
Yeah.
That's why I have him slotted in right after Kelsey and in front of Kittle and in front of Andrew, just because he's going to see the volume. And like he showed last year with a full season, he broke out for over 1,000 yards and I believe 8 touchdowns. And so I love to see that. He's 27. He's a little bit on the older side, but this was his 4th year in the league. This was his breakout year, and it's starting to really show. And I can't wait to see what he's got to show for the next 5 years.
Yeah, the 2 seasons he's played with John Gruden's offense, he's had 90 plus catches, 100 or 1,100 plus yards, and 115 plus targets. It's pretty good for a tight end, and it's only going to get better. Derek Carr's not going anywhere, at least for now. And they have clearly they have a connection. 73.9% career catch percentage is one of my favorite stats. That's unbelievable. The guy catches everything that goes his way, and that shows he knows how to get open. One knock, and the reason I will put him below Kittle is he had 11.2 yards per catch last year. Kittle's more of a downfield threat. I like more of the home run potential. Kittle gets more yardage, but I do like his quarterback situation, Waller, that is, better than Kittle's. So I'll give you, 2 and 3. You can interchange the two.
For sure.
There's nothing wrong with Darren Waller. If you have Darren Waller, you're in a great position. He is actually going to be 29 this year, not 27. So he's a little bit older, but even then, tight ends last until their late 30s, almost 40 if you're what's his name? Jason Witten. So, so Waller's going to be fine and in a good situation with an offense that likes to use him.
One thing I'll say to kind of rebut that, one of my favorite stats, as you know, is ADOT, average depth of target. His average depth of target is actually second amongst tight ends at 7.5. Kelsey's is an absurd 8.9. And I believe George Kittle's was mid-6, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's one thing that I see that, he does stretch the field, but at the same time, he takes those dink and dunks for big chunks. His yak last year was 35.6 yards after catch. So once he secured the bag, he was ripping off big chunks of yardage last year.
Well, I think that even shows more to George Kittle, though, in my opinion. If you're talking about George Kittle getting average depth of target around 6 yards, and then he's getting more receiving yards than Waller. And he has more yards per catch than
Waller's was 7.5.
Yeah,
a whole yard more.
That's depth of target, not depth of actual catch. Because
sure. But the fact they're targeting him downfield is what I'm saying, that he does still stretch the field.
Yeah,
maybe more than he's shown at least his first couple of years as a full starter.
Right, but I think George Kittle's more of a playmaker, and that's why I'll take George Kittle too. He is definitely more athletic. He shows you everything you want to see. I still love the video of him blocking against the Falcons when he blocks that guy in the end zone, just laughing as he just pancakes a guy. The man plays football the right way. I love every part of him. The only thing I think he's not as good at Waller as is staying on the field. Other than that, I'll take Kittle over him every single time. Catches everything thrown his way. 13.6 career yards per catch for George Kittle. Waller had 11.2 last year. That's an extra 2.5 yards per catch. It's a lot. And the 71.5 career catch percentage for Kittle, too. These guys are all over 70. They're all elite tight ends. You really can't go wrong with any of them, but I just think Kittle's more exciting, has more potential, and he had the greatest single season receiving yards-wise as a tight end until last year. Kelsey broke it. But he had the one in 2018 with 1,377 yards. Kittle definitely doesn't get into the end zone as often, and the quarterback situation in San Fran is definitely not San Fran. Is it San Fran still? Yeah, San Fran.
You're out there.
Well, there's Santa Clara.
Santa Clara,
yeah. But
is it worse though? I mean, because since they just moved up to 3, they're obviously going for the quarterback there. They've talked a lot about keeping Jimmy G unless they get a first for him. So they're going to be able to have him sit their mentor and then have the rookie come in, say game 8 or 9, and that could be a better situation than Carr.
Exactly.
Carr is a pretty good quarterback, but he's nothing special.
But that's the question. How much do you believe in it? What they're saying is Mac Jones or Justin Fields. How much do you believe in either of those? Actually, those two are my 2 least favorite quarterbacks in this whole draft class. So I'm not really sure I believe in them, but I'll give it to Kittle as far as talent, and that's why I'm going to give him the number 2 spot.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him at 3 just for the slight knocks that you had mentioned. His being on the field is a blessing and a curse because he's actually always on the field. He's literally on the field for every play, blocking, doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, making plays. But then, of course, that's increases the risk of injury or increases how much he does get banged up because he does get a lot of that dirty work done. But when it's time for him to shine, he certainly steps up. And that's what brought me kind of to my next knock was the quarterback situation. Is Jimmy G still going to be there delivering the ball to him, or are we going to have obviously a rookie coming in, having to learn the system, and maybe that hinders him a little bit on what he can do. I still believe he's going to see target share because he is their best player, but that's the slight knock I have on him. The QB is a little bit more solidified there in Oakland. We know what we're going to get, and there's not as many mouths to feed in Oakland. San Fran does have some playmakers on the perimeter there, so like little things like that, but we're nitpicking, we're nitpicking.
Yeah, exactly. I think the top 3 of the top 3 doesn't really matter. If you have one of those 3, you're in great shape. So do not worry. 4 and 5, we also have the same in different order. But who do you have at 4?
Which I thought I was being shocking, but I guess not. I've got Mark Andrews at 4.
Yeah.
Just kind of the obvious reasons. He has shown that he's a top 5 tight end whenever he is on the field. Him and Lamar Jackson have a very obvious connection. Again, there's not a lot of competition for targets there. They love to run the ball. They love to run the ball with Lamar Jackson. And when they are passing the ball, those targets are going to Mark Andrews. And whenever you get in the red zone, those red zone targets are going to Mark Andrews. So that's why I still like him inside the top 5 here.
I mean, Mark Andrews is definitely top 5. I have him at 5. I have another guy at 4, which is what we both thought we're going with the shock factor. We'll get to that in a minute. But 5, 5's still great. I just, the problem with Mark Andrews and the Baltimore offense in general is they don't throw the ball. He only has about 80 targets a season. Last season with his 57 catches, it's not going to get it done. And I want elite production. He's not getting in the end zone consistently as I'd like from him. He's a red zone target. That's what Mark Andrews does. He catches touchdowns. He's going to give you good games with good points. I just don't like Lamar Jackson's usage of him. I don't like that he's not always the best. The consistency is what I'm lacking from that tight end spot and with Mark Andrews. So I dropped him below the other guy who is, I think, going to be better. But Mark Andrews is still great. He his yard per catch and yards per target are going down. He's only had 3 seasons, so it's still early. But
he's 25. He's 25.
He'll be 26 this year, though, and going into a good situation. It's still a good situation. He's still a good tight end. Still the 5th best in my mind. Number 4 for me, Kyle Pitts, who you also have at 5. Ironically, we weren't even talking about that. We both had the same option. But I like your explanation. Your explanation was the same reason I had him at 4. But why do you got Pitts so high?
I'm far more excited for what Kyle Pitts' breakout and what his production could be than I am for 6 through 15.
Yeah.
Did you see Kyle Pitts' pro day?
Yeah. I have a lot of the measurables on here. 4.44.
Oh yeah, 4.44, 6'5", 240.
Yeah.
The longest recorded wingspan in history for a tight end by half an inch.
89.5 inches. Yeah.
I mean,
he had a long jump of like 129 inches. It's like over.
He can jump further than he can jump high.
Yeah.
But it's such freakish athleticism. He's going to be a nightmare cover for linebackers. He's going to be a nightmare cover for safeties.
Yeah.
if you mess up and leave him in open space, he's going to make you pay.
Yeah, I mean, those are just the numbers we're talking about. You watch the film. He's also on film in football games, dominating anybody he goes against. He does it against the best teams. He does it against the lesser teams. I feel the same way. I have him at 4. I have him ahead of Mark Andrews because I really don't like Mark Andrews more than him. I thought about that. I said, if I had Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts, who's not even drafted yet, would I trade him straight up? I would absolutely trade Mark Andrews for Kyle Pitts right now.
That's the thing. If you know you're going to be getting Kyle Pitts, you got to trade for that pick. And so you got to trade high enough to make sure you're going to secure Pitts. Because actually, Smalls posed a very good question before the podcast. In the rookie draft, where does Kyle Pitts even go? Now, I know that we're going to kind of get into the draft here in the next couple of weeks, but just off the top of the head, where does he go in the rookie draft?
Well, you guys shouldn't be. I would be surprised if you think he's going to fall at all, because you saw in our rookie draft a couple of years ago a guy named T.J. Hawkinson went number 2 overall.
Yeah. I thought that was outrageous, but I could understand taking Pitts at number 2, but Hawkinson didn't jump off the page like Pitts does.
I have the number 2 pick in our league. I am strongly considering Kyle Pitts at number 2. I would be surprised if this guy falls beyond 5. Tight end premium leagues, I can see this guy going number 1.
I don't see.
Not super. If it's a super flex league, obviously Trevor Lawrence.
Superflex tight end premium. I can see the quarterbacks, but then I can see Pitts immediately after the quarterbacks.
Exactly. I think superflex. If he gets past 5, I'd be surprised. I think Pitts is going to be a high draft pick. He's a tight end, such a hard position to get production out of, and you have a chance to get a guy at 21 who's going to be there for the next 15 years, probably. I mean, we're rejecting a whole lot. Tight end is a very difficult position. There's a ton of questions about it. Obviously, what team is he going to be on? Who's his quarterback? What kind of situation does he land in? He has to learn the whole offense. He has to learn blocking schemes. It's not very simple, and it takes a lot of rookies a long time. Evan Ingram being a good example of that. So we are projecting a whole lot onto this guy, but I would much rather take – he measures up to Calvin Johnson as far as the numbers he puts up. And you look at him on film, and he's doing the same thing. I have him at 4. I don't even care about any of the other tight ends below him.
And just sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, one of the big questions I would have here is, as we're talking about what team is he actually going to go to. You're projecting an undrafted player this high. Are there any teams that kills his value, that drops him down further?
Yeah.
So say he goes to the Bears. I don't know, just off the top of my head or something. Is there any team like that? Currently it looks like he's probably going to go to the Dolphins because they traded back up into that 6th spot. Yeah. Most likely looking for Pitts. But does anyone kill his value?
I mean, I don't think so. The Jets, maybe, but even then, he would be the number one tight end.
They're not taking Pitts at 2. although he may warrant that, but I don't. Oh gosh.
But even if they did, the Jets would use him a lot. It doesn't really matter where he goes. The talent is.
Well, that would be an endorsement for Sam Darnold, and that would be the endorsement on their offense and what they believe in Pitts. So of course they're going to have to utilize him with the number 2 overall pick.
Exactly.
Unless maybe he goes somewhere with already an established tight end. But for some reason it goes to the Broncos,
nobody in that top 6.
Pitts and Fant together.
But they were
that would drop it some.
But they were talking about the Eagles possibly drafting him, and he would be paired with Goddard. But the Eagles do that with 12 personnel, a lot of 2 tight ends.
True.
So I don't think it matters. They can split him out wide. His speed and his height, he's a receiver. He can do a little bit of everything. So there's not really a whole lot of problem with him. It doesn't really matter where he lands. For me, value-wise right now, we'll definitely have to see what he does at the NFL level. But boy, the kid looks unbelievable, and he will go high in drafts. Do not mistake that.
And just a real quick tidbit, he had 0 dropped passes last year. 0.
Yeah,
the only player in college football history who had 65 targets and 0 drops.
Yeah,
that's just icing on the cake right there.
Right. There's really nothing else you can say. This guy is going to go high in every draft. If you think he's falling to you at 6, 7, 8, no. Good luck. I guarantee you he goes higher than 8 in every draft. And if he does,
I'm hoping he falls me at 6.
Yeah,
I mean, either top 3 running back, receiver, or Pitts. I'm kind of liking 6.
I know
I've gotten offers there, but
I know we are all in different leagues and listen to different podcasts, and I have different message boards I'm always a part of. Everyone right now is talking Kyle Pitts. Everyone's talking about, I hope he falls to me at 8, which means he won't fall to you at 8 if you think he's going. If you're hoping that happens, it's not going to happen. He's going top 5 in regardless of what league, especially tight end premium leagues. He'll be up there. So top 5, I think, also is another tier that we are at, where we kind of, those 5 that we've all listed so far are probably the 5 elite tight ends that if you have one of them, you're going to be in great shape. Because like we said, anyone after Pitz is kind of, you're really kind of taking a crapshoot from here on out. But we do have the same 6 and 7 in the same order, which is weird. I thought I was shaking it up here too, but who do you have at 6, Thomas?
I've got Noah Fant.
Yep. And then 7 is?
TJ Hawkinson.
Exactly, me too. But why do you have Fant over Hawkinson?
I mean, I don't want to say he's in a better situation because he's still has very lackluster quarterback play, but I feel that Hawkinson has downgraded at quarterback now, and I want to say that scheme is going to change there, and they're going to look to focus on running the ball a lot more. In Denver, they still seem to like to pass it. Granted, Melvin Gordon's going to still get his work, but they need to start exercising these playmakers here. They have Jerry Jeudy, they have Noah Fant, they have Cortland Sutton. These guys they have a lot invested into these guys, and you can't just continue to waste their talents. So at least as far as Font has displayed to me, he's a home run threat. He can certainly take a drag route, one broken tackle, and he's scoring 6 there. That's what I like about him over Hawkinson. Hawkinson, at least from what I've seen on film, is just more going to be your over the middle guy. He's sure-handed. Typically will go down right after catch. He's not really making huge plays after, and that's why that small little variation in the game is why I have Font over Hawkinson.
Yeah, look, Hawk's a better tight end. I don't think anyone can argue that. As far as
great overall tight end, 100%.
Absolutely. We're not talking about real football, though. We're talking about fantasy football. And if you want a receiver who's going to hit a home, or a tight end who's going to hit a home run,
like a receiver.
Yeah, he's like a receiver. He ran under a 4.5 40. I remember that he was 4.4 something back when he came out too. The only real issue with him that I have are his hands. But even then, he only had 5 drops last year, which isn't as many as it looked like at times. But he
hands and staying on the field.
Yeah, and injuries for sure. But his production's pretty hard to argue. In 10 games with Drew Lock, he had 5 or more targets in 9 of them, and only was under 6.5 points in 1 of those games. The guy he gets along with Drew Lock when Drew Lock's there with him. They weren't always healthy at the same time last year. We haven't seen them together a ton. But assuming Drew Lock is still the guy there, who was also Drew Lock was, I think, the 32nd ranked quarterback in the league, terrible from the quarterback position. If
so bad
from that bad production and that bad quarterback play, still putting up the numbers he put up, it can only get better for him. I love Noah Fant as opposed to Hawkinson, who's, like I said, I think the better tight end. But in a situation with Jared Goff coming in, Anthony Lynn's coming as the offensive coordinator, we don't know what they're going to run. You saw with Anthony Lynn in LA when he was with the Chargers that they used the tight end a little bit with Hunter Henry, but he underutilized the talent.
They butchered Hunter Henry's value out there.
Well, he had the talent. The talent level was high, and he just wouldn't get him involved in the game. And Hawk already had enough time getting involved in Detroit. I just don't know if it will change. So that uncertainty keeps me. I'd rather take Fant over him, but Hawk's still the 7th best in the league, and you can't really complain too much if you have him as well.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys are both coming up on their 4th year, I believe, in the league, and this is right around the time the tight ends either they make it or they might be starting to be considered busts.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to see at this point. I don't know if you would consider Hawk a bust. This is their 3rd year in the league.
3rd year, sorry, 3rd year.
And I don't know if you would consider them busts, but I'd still say I'd like to see more out of Hawk with how much. What was he drafted? 10th overall in the rookie draft and in the NFL draft, and
the highest since Dallas Clark, I think.
Yeah, he had a lot of hype coming in, and he hasn't quite hit it. But it's not like he hasn't lived up to it. He's just on a bad team in a bad situation. Mm-hmm. I'll still take Hawk. I don't mind either of them. They're both great Iowa tight ends. Those Iowa tight ends always come out and do well.
Yep.
I just don't know if he's better than. I don't like his situation. I should say better than Fancy right now. So.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I mean, with the Anthony Lynn thing, I think that might hurt him more than Jared Goff. I mean, because Jared Goff did actually. Higby and Everett both put up pretty good numbers. Mm-hmm. He's not. He is a downgraded quarterback for sure. but he still supports tight ends.
Yeah, I looked at Goff.
I think Anthony Lynn's going to be a bigger question mark with that one.
Jared Goff actually does throw. He has the 6th most targets to tight ends in the last 2 seasons. I checked that out too. Goff does throw to tight ends. But it's not just him. It's the situation. The Anthony Lynn situation, as you mentioned, is, I think, a big issue. So we will see. But either of those two, also decent young talent, up and coming, third season, you're in a pretty good shape. Here is where we get a little bit different. And this is probably where you should start listening to us. If you haven't heard anything to this point, now's the time to listen, because so many tight ends in fantasy are just not great. And the majority of every league you're in has at least one, possibly more, tight end that they're starting that isn't really going to be putting up those elite numbers all the time. So here's where we can give you some more of that insight to find that guy who's the next up and coming guy. And at 8, you kind of surprised me here, Thomas, with who you chose. Who do you got?
I went with Robert Tonyan.
Yeah, I don't get that, but go ahead. Why?
I mean, again, we've been talking seemingly about situation since we started the list here. His situation is great. You've still got Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball, and really, based off what we saw last season, it seems like Aaron Rodgers trusts Robert Tonyan more than he trusts the other 2 receivers. Obviously, Davante Adams is going to be his number 1, but as far as what he's seeing after that, Tonyan touchdown numbers, obviously, I don't want to say inflated because it was only his first full year as a starter.
I would say inflated.
It was his first full year as a starter. If he comes back next year and he's a double-digit touchdown threat, I mean, how much more can we argue with that, you know? I mean, and he has that same mold as a George Kittle, where he's always on the field. He gets it done in the trenches, and then when it is his time to step up and make plays, he showed he can make plays.
Don't ever say Robert Tonyan and George Kittle in the same sentence again, or I'm going to slap you through the.
You know they're like best friends, man. What are you talking about?
I mean, you could say like George Kittle is a lot better than Robert Tonyan. I mean, I think that's a sentence.
I said it's the mold, okay? Obviously, I don't have him ranked number 3.
When you said mold, I got upset so much internally. I wanted to get the whole thing off. And then at least you explained it like because he's on the field a lot. That's the only mold that they're the same in. The explosiveness isn't there. He's had one good season. And yes, I agree. The situation, like you say, is a good one. He could build on that. But he was touchdown dependent last year. If he didn't have those touchdowns, he's not putting up those huge numbers. He had an 88.1% catch percentage last year. That is not sustainable. That's not realistic. You're getting Aaron Rodgers to throw you the ball, yes, and he's going to have him again.
He gets the easy ones, but everything thrown to him is easy because it's Aaron Rodgers.
No, he got open because everybody was covering Davante Adams and nobody knew who Robert Tonyan was. Now they have an idea of who he is, and he actually has to compete with a defense because no one else in Green Bay can do anything, and he's going to be covered. I don't see him giving you the same kind of production. I have him almost as a sell. I don't have him as my specific sell, but I do have him as a guy to look out for. If you can get some value out of him, I'd get out of the Robert Tonyan business. I don't trust that guy. Granted, he did have a good season, and he was only on the field for 61% of their offensive snaps. So if that number goes up, I would expect his numbers to go up too. Not sure it will.
Well, let me ask you this. What's going to change in Green Bay?
Nah, nothing. Not right now. Nothing ever changes in Green Bay. That's the problem.
I mean, so I don't see why he can't get 10 touchdowns again next year.
Because defenses will change against Green Bay. What's happening in Green Bay won't change. They'll do the same boring crap. They're going to get to the NFC Championship and lose. But the other teams will start going, oh, hey, this one guy actually does things. We should probably cover him. Because all they bother with right now is Davante Adams. Now they're like,
so you're telling me he has opportunity and upside.
He has opportunity and upside. I will tell you that. And I completely disagree with the direction he said. I'm going to take Dallas Goddard at 8. And Dallas Goddard coming in with the Eagles, who has already shown what he can do with another tight end in front of him, who is supposedly gone. Well, he hasn't left yet, but Zach Ertz kind of said, he already said goodbye to Philadelphia. They're looking to move him. They're going to release him most likely. He's not going to be there. So Dallas Goddard going to be the lead tight end. The 4 games he played without Ertz, he had 23 targets, 17 catches, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not huge, but it was with Carson Wentz. So the worst season in the NFL last year at quarterback. When he had Jalen Hurts and Zach Ertz on the field with him at the same time, 17 targets in 3 games, 11 catches, 120 yards, no touchdowns. But still, 3 games, 17 targets with another tight end out there with you, not so bad. He's got 40 targets in his 4 games. I should say Hurts targets tight ends 40 times in 4 games. Get rid of Zach Ertz, give all those to Goddard, or at least most of those to Goddard. I expect his numbers to go way up. And, I mean, he had a pretty good season last year even without that. 46 catches, 524 yards, 3 touchdowns. He wasn't healthy the whole year. He wasn't even healthy in the games he played, and still did all right with with a terrible quarterback situation with another tight end on the field with him at the same time. I like Goddard way more than Tanyan, but definitely more than others.
What? I mean, I don't have Goddard far. I have him at 9 right after Tanyan.
Right.
But the one thing that we haven't talked about with these 8 other tight ends is tight end competition. Yeah. And that's something that Goddard has been facing in his career. We've been sitting here waiting for the breakout. He's shown flashes. Zach Ertz should be on his way out of town, and if not, I don't think it's going to eat into his value tremendously.
The Eagles target ones more than anybody.
But, I mean, if they draft Pitz, which they've talked about, I don't think they're going to get him. But again, you're pairing Goddard up with more tight end competition for targets, and so again, it's uncertainty. You said at the beginning, is this going to be the same in 2 months? I said no. Goddard could certainly shoot up this list if it stands pat and they trade or release Ertz. He's going to start to get that opportunity. He's going to start to show that he is a playmaker, but with all that uncertainty and with the fact that right now there still is a Zach Ertz in the tight end room, I'm tempering expectations and have him just inside the top 10. But again, I like the other 8 guys here situation better, and the fact that there's lack of competition as far as targets go from the same position.
Yeah, we agree pretty much on Goddard. I think we're pretty close to value on that. I just don't get the time. I'm totally opposite you on Tanyan. Instead of Tanyan up there, I've got Gesicki at 9. And I love Mike Gesicki. I love me some Gesicki. If you watch his, for me, it's more about watching them play. And Gesicki goes up and gets the ball. He's 6'6", makes every play at the. He high points the ball in the back of the end zone, come down with it against defenders. And he doesn't have a great quarterback, but that will change. Tua's just getting into the league. He had some good chemistry with Tua in the 4 games he played. 34 targets, 23 catches, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's not bad. You go take that out to 16 games, now 17 games this year, which will be a whole different story. But that's 90 catches for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Come on. Give me more Mike Gesicki with Tua. Now, granted, we're talking Kyle Pitts, as we mentioned. The Dolphins are a really hot button spot for him. Everyone's talking about them or Pitts going there. But Gesicki will still be on the field with him at the same time. I just like what he does a lot more than I like any of these other guys. And it's also the explosion and this talent, the receiving talent that Gesicki has compared to Tanyan, who's just more of a route runner, which is good, but I'll take that explosive talent over the
I just saw something here, and actually it was a reminder that Robert Tonyan was actually number 3 in tight end scoring last year. Mike Gesicki, he was number 7. Hear me out a little bit. I have Mike Gesicki all the way down to 14.
Yeah.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating on his quality of work. I'm not hating on what he can bring to the table. But you're talking about also bringing Kyle Pitts to the team. You just added Will Fuller. Devontae Parker is going to still eat up a lot of targets. This team is going to start to have a lot of mouths to feed, and I don't think that Gesicki is going to be a beneficiary of all these added offensive weapons. And so again, I'm just tempering expectations. It's tight end. You throw shit at the wall, you hope something sticks.
Yeah.
Gesicki, just given the situation and what they're trying to build in Miami, he's not that guy for me. And so that's why I have him as low as I have him. But again, in 2 months, this could all change. I might drop him out of this top 15 because they have Kyle Pitts on the team. And as you heard, we're gushing about Kyle Pitts. So of course that's going to just derail his value, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt right now based off of what he's done on the field and his athletic ability, that he's in the top 15.
Yeah, but top 15.
Also,
I just think that's way too low at 14. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was gonna say one thing. I mean, Thomas did bring up a good point. So I mean, the Dolphins had that number 3 from Houston, and they traded out of it. You know, they got a boatload. They absolutely should have made that trade, but then they traded back up to 6. That means you're targeting someone at 6 that they knew was gonna fall past the 3 QB hungry teams, Atlanta, the Bengals, and then they got in there. So they're looking for someone. And there's a big possibility that it's Pitz.
Kyle Pitts is it.
Well, people are saying that. I just don't understand why they want to go back up for Pitts at the tight end position. I could see them using him with Gesicki. I mean, granted, Gesicki only played 58% of the offensive snaps last year. Still had a great season, the 7th best season at the tight end position without even playing all the snaps in his own team when he was healthy, and without playing with a good quarterback consistently or consistent quarterback play. So
Did you just ask why would the Dolphins trade to 6 for Pitts when we just talked about him potentially being a top 5 draft pick?
No, but I mean,
if you get Pitts at 6 and you're the Miami Dolphins, you're all over that.
Absolutely, and
that's a no-brainer.
That's what I'm saying. You can use him at double. I don't think Gesicki loses necessarily from Pitts being there. I think
sure, but at the same time, you're bringing Will Fuller to town. You're bringing Kyle Pitts to town. Target share is going to it's up in the air. We don't know how it's going to go until they get on the field. So that's why Gesicki, we don't know that he's going to get the target share he's been getting.
I don't know if Pitts even gets to the Dolphins, to be honest. We'll see about that. But one other good thing to remember about Gesicki that I liked, his yards per catch went up 2 yards each of his 3 seasons. Started at 9.2, then 11.2, then 13.3 last year. Catch rate's low, but I attribute that more to his quarterback play. 61% is not great. It's a little below actually average, but when you have quarterbacks, when you don't have the chemistry with quarterbacks, that tends to be a problem. And
I believe per Football Focus, their on-target passes was 53%.
Yeah, so the Dolphins would have great quarterbacks.
Not good.
We hope Tua makes a big step, and that's one big knock also on Gesicki, but we'll see. We'll see about that in the future. I just like the talent and the targets are there. 10, who do you have?
Irv Smith.
Hey, Irv Smith's a name I do like.
I've been an Irv Smith fan since he's come into the league. It's obviously taking some time, but as we've mentioned a couple of times already, it does take this long with tight ends. But everything's kind of lining up for him with a team that does like to pass the ball. They do like to involve the tight end. Kyle Rudolph is now been packing. He's on his way to New York. And Irv Smith, this is his time to shine. He's been waiting 2 years to get this starting role, and with someone like Rudolph in front of him, I would say that's helped his maturation in the game as a tight end. He's already had what it takes as a playmaker, and so now with added snaps and with added targets, I'm very intrigued on what he can do.
I am too. I'm curious. He's really young. Like you mentioned, the tight end position takes a while to get involved. And with Kyle Rudolph ahead of him, he only saw 50% of the snaps. So he's not getting on the field, or wasn't. And now the situation's lined up for him. He will be on the field a lot more.
Irv Smith is 22, I believe.
Yeah, he is 22. The past few guys we talked about were 25 and 26.
He'll be 20.
The past 3 guys. And then, Irv Smith currently 22.
Right. I always, when I say an age, I'm talking about into this season. I look at their stats after into this year. He will be 23 this year. But
August 9th.
Yes, right before the season.
Happy birthday, Irv. Happy future birthday.
Future birthday.
He'll be able to rent a car.
I thought it's 25. Is it 23?
One thing with Irv I don't like with Kirk Cousins out there. Kirk Cousins is doesn't target tight ends all the time. 212 in the last 2 seasons. They have a ton of weapons around there. I have him at 11. I still like Irv Smith and the potential there. I'm just, temper expectations, especially with Justin Jefferson up and coming and Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. Those are some big names to feed, and they're going to get the ball. I know the offense is built around those 3 more than it is Irv Smith. But Irv Smith can still be a sneaky guy, and we're looking for potential at this position because it's so hard to find anything. I'll give you Irv Smith at 10. That's not bad at all.
Well, especially at 10, I would take that over Gesicki's
I wouldn't.
Just the position he's in, the circumstance he's in, the opportunity that he's going to be in.
I mean, the talent, though, Irv Smith's 6'2", and showing some flashes. I'm talking about 6'6" Gesicki, who's jumped in the back of the end zone and made an acrobatic touchdown catch. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you. Speaking of taking that at 10 instead of Irv Smith, who I had at 11, I took Evan Ingram, which I know everyone hates right now. I love Evan Ingram, and everyone always loved him. That's the whole problem. He came out. He looked like a Kyle Pitts coming out. Everyone's talking about how the explosive playmaking ability, and you see it when the ball's in his hands. He has that potential to bust it for a touchdown every single time he touches it. He doesn't hold the ball when he touches it. He led the league in drops last year, and he's gotten worse every year. He's declining in yards per catch. He's declining in touchdowns. He's declining in catch percentage. As I mentioned, he led the league in drops. So, he's saying all these horrible things. Why would I put him at 10, right? Target share. He said he had the 15th most targets of any position last year. Sorry, 28th most targets of any position last year, as I mentioned in our football trivia that we did a couple weeks ago. And when he is on, he is on. I honestly think the addition of Kenny Gallaudet is going to open things up for him more underneath. He actually had a worse season because he only scored 1 touchdown. The targets were there. He wasn't catching everything that came his way. You take that bad season, which I think last year was the anomaly, and then go back next season and let's add 4 more touchdowns and add some more yards and more catches. I think we're talking about a top 10, top 5 tight end. We all know what he can do. I'll give him 1 more year to look at that potential, and I still have him in that top 10 for now, although I can easily see him being disappointing.
One interesting disparity I'm looking at here, or interesting stat, I guess. So when we're talking about how tight ends are kind of rough. We look at those first top 3, 4 players, they're lock. Top 5, you're good to go. So Travis Kelsey had 312 last year points wise. Evan Ingram had 141. So that's losing more than 50% of the points. Depending on what type of tight end you can get.
Absolutely, the disparity between the top 3 and the rest of the tight ends is huge. So if you can get those top 3, you're going to gain a lot of points. Those are some big stats to remember in fantasy football. I mean, that's a position that you need production out of. If you have one of those guys that gives you that kind of production and a good team to go along with just that guy, it's a big difference maker. I think right now we're in that point where we're trying to find that next big name because it's so hard to find tight ends right now. Who's going to be that breakout?
And Evan Ingram isn't it, bro. I'm sorry, dude.
I think he is.
I have Evan Ingram number 15, and that's being generous. Because I still think he's gonna get targets. But he was the most inefficient tight end in history with the target share that he got last year.
That makes it
1 touchdowns.
That's the anomaly.
1 touchdown.
Right.
It's not the anomaly. You just said everything is declining. Right. I don't want to hear that when I'm investing in a top 10 tight end.
Yeah.
And I get it. He's young, but the target share will never be like what he saw this year. This was a great circumstance for him with everybody going down. He was the main man, and he didn't show up. He did not show up. So, like I said, I'm being generous with him at 15 still because he's young. He still flashes some upside. But, bro, you got to catch the ball. 1, you're a tight end. He's a mediocre blocker.
Yeah.
I mean, with Kenny Gallaudet commanding more targets, Saquon's coming back. He's going to command some targets.
Yeah.
Slayton's going to be healthy again. You're just adding more and more mouths to feed there. And I don't think that he's going to see close to the targets he saw last year. And if he doesn't see that, do we get any touchdowns or do we get 1,000 yards? I don't think so. And so... like I said, I'm being very generous with the 15 ranking.
He also did play 16 games and came in actual 15th in tight ends for points last year.
Right. That's what. Look, I'm just saying with the gamble. Who excites you more than him at the tight end position though? Down here, is there someone you like? I mean, you have 3 guys in between there who you like more than Evan Ingram. When Ingram touches the ball, he could.
Mike Gesicki is one of those guys.
Yeah,
if that makes you feel better. Mike Gesicki is one of those guys I actually like better than Evan Ingram.
Who you're 12, 13, 11, who you got?
So at 11, I've got Logan Thomas. 12 and 13, I've got Jonnu and Hunter Henry. Again, it's just this is the earliest list. I think that those guys are gonna kind of tether each other's value. I don't think that one guy is gonna make the leap over the other because you have inconsistent quarterback play.
Yes.
And the Patriots, they do like to run the ball, but once we get down here, it's like.
But we're taking,
who else is there? Who else is there?
Evan Ingram is there. He had the 3rd most targets for tight end, or 4th most targets for tight end.
And that'll never happen again. And he dropped how many of those fucking passes?
11, but still. He had a terrible year. I think last year was the anomaly. The guy's got the talent. It's still there. You're going to take Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry.
I think Jonnu Smith is more talented than Evan Ingram.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think the talent-wise, I agree.
Yes.
But I think the quarterback situation and the fact
That's what we're looking for. We're looking for talent. We're looking for opportunity and upside.
Can-
He could certainly be
Cam
tight
Newton
end one there.
tight ends 31 times. 31 passes to tight ends last year. Cam Newton doesn't throw the ball to tight ends. I hate that situation. I hate the Patriots. I will take Evan Ingram over them every time.
Well, when you're paying 2 tight ends that guaranteed money,
Very true.
Cam Newton's gonna throw to those tight ends.
He better, because they did spend a whole lot of money, and I thought about that too. The Hunter Henry's contract is huge. So, but
he got more money. He got more money than John did. Yeah.
I think
Also, I gotta say, so Logan Thomas was number 4 tight end on the year last year. He actually tied with Robert Tonyan.
we will talk about that in a second, Chris. Give me 1 minute. But
Kind of breezed over Logan.
now that we got our top 10 out of the way, let's throw it to Danny. Danny's got his weekly now special.
Hey guys, this is Danny Pert bringing you an expert breakdown. This week we will be doing an in-depth breakdown of draft prospect Kyle Pitts out of Florida. Pitts was a 2017 high school All-American. He was highly recruited and he chose the University of Florida out of his many offers. His freshman year, Pitts played in only 11 games with limited snaps. He proceeded to have a semi-breakout season as a sophomore, posting a line of 54, 649, and 5 touchdowns. His true breakout campaign was his junior year, posting a 43 reception, 770-yard, 12 touchdown line in just 7.5 games, with an impressive 18 yards a catch and an even more impressive 6 yards after the catch. Most impressive of all, Pitts did not drop a single pass all year. The consensus All-American and John Mackey Award winner, given to the country's best tight end, dominated Alabama in the SEC championship and then decided to opt out of the Cotton Bowl to prepare for the NFL draft. At Pitt's recent pro day, he measured in at 6 feet 5 5/8 of an inch, 245 pounds, with an 83 3/8 of an inch wingspan, a 10 5/8 of an inch hands, a 4.44 40-yard dash, a 33.5-inch vertical, a 129-inch broad jump, a 4.3 second short shuttle, a 7.12 second 3-cone drill, and he benched 225 pounds 22 times. To put these numbers into context, let's compare them to the combine numbers of the 3 best tight ends in the NFL right now: Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, and Darren Waller. Pitts is the tallest of the group and weighed in heavier than Kittle, lighter than Kelsey, and similar to Waller. Pitts' 83 3/8 of an inch wingspan is not only 3 inches longer than the big 3, but came in as longest ever recorded for a tight end or wide receiver in the last 30 years, beating out DK Metcalf's previous record by 1/2 of an inch. His hand size is in the 93rd percentile, 1 to 1.5 inches larger than the big 3. His 4.44 40 time was faster than all of the big 3, narrowly trailing Vernon Davis's all-time tight end combine record of 4.38. Pitts' vertical checks in as the worst of the group, but with what he lacks in vertical jumping ability, he more than makes up for with forward leaping ability, scoring in the 97th percentile in the broad jump, well ahead of Kelsey and Waller. His short shuttle ranks well ahead of Kelsey and Kittle and only slightly behind Waller. Pitts' 3-cone was behind all 3 of the big 3, but only slightly. His 22 bench reps were by far the highest of the group. As we can clearly see, Pitts matches up favorably physically with the big 3. What makes this feat incredible is Pitts recorded all these amazing pro day stats at 20 years old, while the big 3 were all roughly 23 years old when they recorded their combine stats. Pitts received a scouting score of 96 from Pro Football Focus, shattering the old tight end record. Physically, Pitts' closest comparison is to future Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson, which shows what immense physical gifts Pitts has. Pitts' 92 percentile dominator rating and 95th percentile breakout age of 18.9 are both attributes NFL scouts love. His smooth route running and ability to line up in the slot bode well for his fantasy and dynasty prospects. He is a matchup nightmare who is simply too fast for linebackers and too big and strong for cornerbacks. Pitt's only weakness is his blocking ability, but he has shown improvement in this area and should not be a liability blocking at the NFL level. He received a pedestrian 42.6 pass blocking grade as a sophomore, but followed that with an improved 66 rating last year, showing significant improvement in his weakest area. For dynasty purposes, finding a landing spot that utilizes all his unique talents will be pivotal. Seemingly, his talents fit best in a West Coast offense. Pitz is a lock to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft this year, and looks to be the first tight end since Vernon Davis and Kellen Winslow Jr. to be drafted 6 or higher, with the 4th overall pick being the earliest he will go. The young man doesn't lack for confidence either, recently being quoted as saying, "I think I will be the best to ever do it." With his upside, though, don't be afraid to reach on him a little bit and acquire this future stud for your future. Pert out.
And that is Pert giving you what he has to say for the week. We always love hearing from you, Danny Pert. Love that you're part of the show when you can be, man. We miss you. We'll have you back soon. But obviously, little baby takes up a lot of your time. And bring Will Thomas on the show when you first come back. We definitely have to have a cameo.
I'm sure he has a lot to say.
I'm sure he does. He definitely have plenty to say. All right. That being said, we're on our buys, sell, and flyer at this point. Who, Thomas, are you buying and why?
Irv Smith. For all the reasons I gushed about him as a top 10 tight end coming into the year. He's young, the opportunity is there, and he's flashed the upside. All things that you're looking for in a guy you want to buy, and now people are probably valuing him a little more than I would say a good amount of these tight ends. But if you can throw some feelers out there for future second, or even maybe even a late second this year to get yourself an Irv Smith, I would certainly pull the trigger on that, or just see what you can negotiate with the owner who has Irv Smith. Because if he's trying to sell Irv Smith because he's got other positions filled or other players to fill the tight end position, and you get him for even cheaper than that, then that's a guy I'm all over right now.
No, absolutely. I have Irv Smith too, and there's no reason not to. And as you mentioned, I think honestly, the window for buy might be out. I have him in one league, and I would not sell him. So you're gonna have to give up a pretty penny to get this guy. But if you can get him, he is the guy to get. He's the tight end. He's the name this year that everyone's expecting to have a breakout season, and I can easily see that happening. I think some of the guys in the top 10 are in that same boat, but you might be able to get Irv Smith a little bit cheaper than the others. If you can get him for a late first, I would consider it, especially tight end premium. I mean, you're probably paying.
Well, tight end premium, absolutely. You're gonna end up paying a first for Irv Smith, this year and beyond.
I'd consider a late first in not tight end premium, a mid first in tight end premium for him. I'd consider doing it. I'm not sure I would, but if you need a tight end badly, he's a good name to grab.
That's why nobody trades with you, Adam.
Well, that's why I wanted to be last year. So we'll talk about that. Huh?
You took advantage of our wizard here, okay?
That's fine. That's fine. Just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, we'll see long term. Thomas, who do you have for sell?
I don't know how much more we can shit on Evan Ingram. Really, I don't like. We already spent the last several minutes doing that. But
right now, no one wants him. I can't sell him. I'm trying to sell him.
But you're valuing him as a top 10, so I'm immediately hopping into your DMs and seeing what I can get out of you for Evan Ingram, because you value him as a top 10 asset as far as tight end goes.
That's my point. He's not a sell right now, but how can you sell him? He's worth more than you're going to get for him. Nobody wants him, and no one wants to give any value.
But I don't think that he's ever going to return to rookie season value. I think right now you're going to have to kind of eat crow on this one, take what you can get, and move along, because it's only going to get worse from here.
Also, if you have Giants fans in your league too, you always want to, if you're trying to sell someone and you know there's someone that's that team's fan in your league, like, shoot for them first, because they remember all the good games. They're not, unless they're Eagles fans, remember all the terrible games. Typically, they're looking at those rose-colored glasses, and we're like, oh no, man, he was great. And then maybe you can get that top 10 value.
Every opportunity to succeed last year, and he did it. He played every game. He got the target share.
I think last year was the
and he ended number 15 tight end.
No, he had a terrible year. Last year was a horrible season.
That was his chance. Now they're paying Kenny Gallaudet. Now we got Saquon's back.
Then Kyle Rudolph, but none of those guys.
Kyle Rudolph's not a serious. That's the thing. Kyle Rudolph's not a serious threat, but he's gonna vulture enough touchdowns to give you headaches because you're starting Evan Ingram, and you're start to realize it's not a good idea.
I personally think he's a hold candidate. You can't really sell him for what he's worth, and you can't buy him because people want to hold on to that value too. You want to get him cheap, and they're like, oh, they're not going to sell
value,
him.
man?
So, exactly.
Get out of Dodge.
And I think the same thing about Logan Thomas, who you have ranked pretty highly for no reason.
I have him at number 11. I
Right,
mean, he's in a good situation. Again, who's competing with him for tight end touches?
Nobody. What good situation is that with
You throw Fitz Magic up there?
a constant revolving door at the quarterback position, and Fitz doesn't throw to tight ends very often either. I mean,
He made Gesicki look good, who you argued for inside the top 10. Like what are you talking about?
Tua made Gesicki look good. Gesicki was terrible.
Tua started 5 games last year.
No, Tua started 9 games last year.
I don't believe that.
Played the first, Fitz played the first 5 games. That's when Gesicki was bad, and everyone said he was a bust. And then Gesicki turned it on at the end of the season, right around fantasy playoff time, if you remember, which I do because I won the league with him, Thomas. So Mike Gesicki did a good.
I remember my first championship.
You got me off topic. I'm talking about Logan Thomas. All right. Look, he had a big year. I just think he's a great sell candidate. The last year, 72 catches, 670 yards, 6 touchdowns. Terrible quarterback play. He's the only option in Washington, or other than Scary Terry. And I mean, Antonio Gibson's a bit of a receiver, but he's not really threatening Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas works the underneath. He's going to get those catches. I just don't think he can replicate what he did this year. I think he's overvalued right now, and you can get more for him, moving him, than he will be worth in the future. I don't like his 9.3 yards per catch. That's the fourth worst among tight ends with at least 30 catches last year. He gets underneath and catches the ball. That's okay, but he's just a dump guy. He's not making big plays. He's just an outlet for quarterbacks who were panicked in the pocket because they had no offensive line.
In PPR, you love that. You want that.
Tight end premium, especially.
Tight end premium, you love that. You want that.
No, but he's not going to be open underneath in the future. They're not going to be dumping the ball off all the time. They're looking to move the ball downfield. And I don't think Washington's I don't like the situation. I like the talent. I like that he's a decent player.
But again, he's 29. He's coming along a little late. What are you going to go out and try to get for him? You think you're going to get more for Logan Thomas than you're going to get for Evan Ingram?
I think you can trade Logan Thomas for Irv Smith straight up, and I would. And I think that's a great option.
Oh, my gosh.
Logan Thomas, and they don't know about Irv Smith right now.
That's robbery. Whoever's doing that, I want to talk to them. I want to do trades with them.
So I'm just saying, Logan. Okay, Irv Smith might be a bit of a stretch, but
straight up, yes. That's
That's definitely a bit of a stretch, especially with now that Rudolph's gone.
I need some draft capital back with Logan Thomas if I'm giving you 22-year-old Irv Smith.
I'm just saying, you capitalize on Logan Thomas's great season last year because I don't think he replicates it. And with the revolving door they have at quarterback, you never know what you're going to get out of that guy. Plus, Logan Thomas has played 1 season at tight end. We don't really know if he's going to be the same guy moving forward. Granted, it was a great season, and he might actually be the beginning of something even better. So there's you never know. Tight ends are such a crapshoot, as you mentioned. You're really just taking shots in the dark. I would try and capitalize if I'm selling a tight end on the season he had. Flyers, Thomas, who do you have?
Tyler Higby.
Tyler Higby.
I love Tyler Higby.
But Higby's been a Flyer for like 7 years in a row now.
Hear me out. Last season, Higby had 60 targets. And he had 20 less fantasy points than Evan Ingram.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Give Higby 100 targets, and I guarantee he's a top 10 tight end.
But that's the question. He doesn't get the targets. Is he going to get the targets?
I believe he's going to start seeing targets. Gerald Everett is out of Dodge. They extended Higby earlier kind of in his career, which was a smart move because now you have years 3 and 4 of his contract coming up, and now is his time to shine. Now is going to be his chance. They got the upgrade there at quarterback. Granted, they still have great wide receivers there on the perimeter, and they still have great running backs to take away some touches there, but Tyler Higby, he gets the job done on the line. He blocks a lot, so he's on the field a lot. And now with it opening up for him to be tight end 1 there, I could see him certainly outproducing Gesicki, outproducing Evan Ingram, outproducing Logan Thomas. He's one of those guys I don't think that people are very high on because of last season. If you remember, the ending of this season before that was the most historic tight end run of all time. And so I don't think that that's all lost. He's still a young man, and he's going to start to figure some things out here with him being tight end number 1.
Yeah, look, we've said the entire episode, tight ends are a crapshoot. They're all young. ish. They're all in pretty decent situations, and they just don't seem to get the ball thrown their way. So that's the hardest part about finding a good tight end. Matt Stafford does target tight ends a bit, and with Everett out of the way, I could see Higby getting there. It's not a bad flyer option. I've got Blake Jarwin as my flyer, same kind of thing. He's just been hurt last year, but now that he'll be back with Dak back in Dallas, it's the same situation. They're all. He's 26, just like Higby. I think
Higby's 20. I think Higby's 28.
I have it pulled up here. Yeah, so Higby, 28, almost 29.
Right.
Jarwin, we're looking at
he'll be 27.
almost 27, 26, almost 27. And then we got Dalton Schultz behind him, sitting there at almost 25.
They're like 26 to 30, every single one in the league. So this is right when tight ends start to take off. We're going to find out this next few years which ones actually mean something, which ones don't. I like Higby's situation, like you said. I like Blake Jarwin's situation. And actually, when I'm talking about selling Logan Thomas, that is a guy you could probably flip him for. And if I could flip Logan Thomas for Blake Jarwin, I would do that in half a second.
I would be on board with something like that. I still might be trying to get a little more than just Jarwin. But maybe that's just me being a good owner,
I would try to get more. Absolutely, I'd try and throw in a second or a late second or maybe a third if you can sneak it out of them.
Probably some third action there. Yeah,
it'd probably be a third on top. He's not worth that much more. But I like Jarwin had 31 catches, 365 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 2019.
Like I would do Logan Thomas for Higby straight away right now. Actually,
right, same thing.
That'd be kind of what I'm looking for there.
Yeah. But I think Jarwin only played 39% of the snaps in 2019. I expect him to get more. You saw Dalton Schultz with the 89 targets when he was out last year, and that was when Jarwin was out. That was with poor quarterback play too. When you have Dak now in that situation, it seems like every year we're talking about Dallas being great, and every year they disappoint. So I'm not expecting
in real life football, they do not produce, but in fantasy football, the Dallas Cowboys produce. Let's be real.
Absolutely, and the biggest thing I love about Blake Jarwin is the 75.6% career catch percentage, which is ridiculous. But he's done that consistently.
It's very athletic. I was just hooting and hollering when they were going to unleash Jarwin, because they had Witten there for the 2 additional years. He probably didn't need to be playing football, but just seeing. When he did make plays, he's very explosive and he's a big guy. And I was like, when are they going to unleash this guy? He got hurt last year. Dalton Schultz came in, did an admirable job. But I do like Jarwin a little bit better in that situation, just based off his athletic ability.
Yeah, Jarwin under contract until 23. I believe you have the potential out at 2022. $2 million dead cap. But also, we talked about Schultz here, and he's going to be an undrafted or unrestricted free agent in 2022 as well. So that point's a little bit up in the air.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what they do with Dalton Schultz this year for sure. That's going to be an issue. Schultz had a very good season in Dallas, so it might cut into Jarwin's value just a bit. But I still love that situation. He has the potential to be a tight end 1 for very cheap. If you can get him, that's a good option at tight end. Awesome. So now we've done it, Thomas. We have gotten through the positions, our ranking.
The way too early positional rankings.
Exactly. At least the ones we're going to cover. We're not going to cover kickers, defenses, or individual defensive players. You can get
Justin Tucker.
Yeah, right. We can dive into these things.
Or Sanders, or Blankenship. I think he's gonna be the next guy.
Does anyone even have kickers in their league other than us anymore? I love kickers, but most people don't even bother.
I'm super ambivalent about kickers. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a very underappreciated role. I suggest anyone who has a child going into playing football to be a kicker, because if you actually are a very good kicker and good under pressure, then you can make that money. You can make that money for a long time. Yeah, but so much pressure comes down on these guys, and they just get absolutely roasted if they don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know about the death threats you want on your son when they miss one kick.
But they can play till 45 and still live as a human being afterwards and make $30 million easy.
Very true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. It is. It's a pretty good spot in real life. Let's fantasy wise, nobody likes it, but except me. Apparently, I'm the only person. But
there's one thing Thomas brought this up talking about the Cowboys, where real life football, they're terrible. But fantasy, they're pretty okay. I kind of find it the same but opposite for the tight ends, where real life football, they're
Oh yeah,
they're so important. They're so good. But fantasy, it's tough. I mean, because they have a huge impact on their team, but then they score 140 points on the year.
Well, yeah, we're talking about the teams that make the Super Bowl every year seem to have a pretty good tight end at doing something. You look at Kelsey and Gronk this year. There's always something, and those tight ends are really involved in offenses, just not always.
And that's the thing about the tight end position too, though, is you can have a guy like Gronk. Like Gronk was written off, left for dead, and then he finished as tight end number 8 last year. So, really, any of these tight ends in the top 30 could certainly have top 15 seasons. It's all a matter of which ones it's going to be. And we're doing our best to try to help you figure out which one it is. But when, Adam's saying Evan Ingram and Mike Gesicki, I start to feel bad for you guys.
You know what? We're going to find out more in a couple weeks. So NFL draft actually coming up in how many?
3 weeks.
So we're going to spend the next 3 weeks talking about the upcoming draft and kind of giving our evaluations on these guys. And then we'll be talking a whole lot more draft after that. So plenty of beautiful NFL fantasy info to talk about.
Quite possibly a rookie mock.
Ooh, yes, we should do a rookie mock before. Definitely.
I would say post draft, but again,
okay, yeah,
I think it would be something. Obviously, we can talk about the draft here the next couple of weeks. Once the dust settles, maybe do a mock episode with the guys who have landed and start to stir up some excitement there.
I like it. I
would say if you have any suggestions after you subscribe, comment all across the place, just let us know. Yeah, throw in some comments. Say what you'd like us to do. What would you like to see?
Any questions? Yep. Any questions too? We'll certainly start to address listener questions.
If you want hair tips, Adam's all over it. Obviously, I'm not the one to answer this, but Adam's all over it.
If you watch us on our YouTube channel, past the projections, you can see this. This hair right now is on point.
He looks like My Little Pony.
No, Adam Brony Skinner.
Man.
He's a unicorn.
Adam Skinner, Thomas Lozano, Chris Roth, past the projections as always. Find us on YouTube, find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, and anywhere you can listen to the podcast. Please throw us, as they mentioned, the like, comment, follow. And we would love to hear from you guys. And looking forward to talking to you next week. Thanks for joining us.
This guy's full of shit. He's not a believer in Jalen Hurts.
You got A.J. Dillon and Henry Ruggs,
Oh, don't even. Nah, they're not. I'll put them in the same sentence.
And I didn't have to pay up.
Yeah.
So, bro.
How many guys do you have left on your board?
Who's left here?